So a few weeks ago, I was putting together a video taking a look at all of the upcoming MMOs, just trying to get a sense of what's on the horizon, and while working on that, I noticed a recurring trend. I'd be describing one of these games,
everybody.
going through its list of features, content, and mechanics, you know, just kind of overviewing everything we know, and then ultimately that overview would end with, I'd say, but also it's confirmed, going to be pay to win, so I'll do what I usually do in these circumstances, level up and play till end game, check out the content, and then leave as soon as I hit the point where not swiping either puts me at a big disadvantage or requires excessive amounts of.
And I have to agree with this. This is incredibly true. Like, the majority of games coming out, especially in the MMO realm, you play and you get to a point where you're like, but I have to spend extra money to keep going or to progress at a competitive rate.
Grinding. I then move on to describing the next game in the list, saying here's this new MMO with its cool features, content, and mechanics, but yeah, okay, yeah, looks like this one is also confirmed going to be pay to win. All right, well then let's talk about this other new MMO with these features, mechanics, and oh, wait a second, yeah, this one also looks very likely to be pay to win as well. What the hell? It's not that I hadn't noticed, not that it's not been obvious for years now, but really at that moment, I found myself thinking, man, is every single game in my favorite genre from here on out going to be pay to win forever? And the answer pretty much seems to be yes, with but a few exceptions.
So far, from what I understand, Final Fantasy isn't. But he's not wrong, you guys. This is generally true. And it's a huge problem in my eyes because it takes the fun right out of the game.
Most of the new upcoming MMOs that we know about are already either confirmed or appear very likely to fall somewhere on the scale of pay for convenience and or pay to win. Very few are just coming out where you'll buy the game, you play the game, transaction complete, nice doing business with you. For the most part, that is not what we're getting.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Sucks. I mean, paying extra for these games has always been a thing. What with MMOs basically being the grandfather of the live service genre, consistent online support, patches, and content updates has meant that these games for the longest time have had a price tag greater than just one upfront cost. In fact, for years, many of them required monthly subscriptions to play at all. And while that was the norm for a
See, in subscription-based games take money from you and provide content with it, right? So I would much rather sign up for a monthly fee to be a part of a special club, you know, basically, and provide them with the income they need to continue to patch the game, to continue to develop the game, continue to just to maintain the game, especially if they listen to the community. But when they're relying on microtransactions and shop transactions, when you get fixated on that and there's, like, for example, no reason to progress on gear in the game, and you just end up buying stuff to progress on gear in the game, the reason to play gets diminished very quickly.
While it's more a relic of the past at this point, except for a few heavy hitters like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. Most everyone else has dropped the requirement,
Final Fantasy
out
XIV.
of necessity, because they just can't compete and it would mean they would shut down, and it's been replaced with them monetizing just about everything else, or replaced the technical requirement of a subscription with an optional one. We're talking subscription alternatives via battle passes or convenience buffs that are pretty much but not technically required. I'm talking about the crystalline auras
not
and the
big
ESO
on convenience buffs.
And this whole thing got me thinking where my pay to win line is.
I really don't like when a problem's created in the game by the developers that they sell you the solution to. It just feels shitty.
Personally, because everyone has their own point where a game's monetization will hinder the experience enough that they want to stop playing. And it might just be conditioning. Maybe it's because I've grown accustomed to it over the years. But I really truly feel like the flat subscription fee was the least offensive and least game/experiencing ruining option of them all.
100%.
It's not the most accessible, that is for sure. Having a required monthly charge is going to be a big turnoff to a lot of people, and it will certainly limit a game's potential player base.
The move.
I understand that. Anyone on a budget, younger players with little income, or people who just want to save the money are way less likely to play games with required monthly fees. So I do understand. I get the fact that this...
But, you know, with the subscription fee, you've got a dedicated community as well. Maybe the community becomes more dedicated. The quality of the community in Final Fantasy seems to be really good.
Isn't the best option for a game looking to attract as many players as possible, which, yes, I'll admit is most games. But at the same time, I am convinced it is the option least likely to ruin a game. If we are accepting
I agree with that 100%.
Require some form of additional monetization to keep them running and supporting the game with continuous patches and content updates, which I do. I understand that just a $60 base box price isn't going to support a live service game to get continuously supported constant updates and patches and new content. I get that. It just doesn't cut it. If we're understanding that, my vote is for the flat subscription fee in lieu of, well, every other option that we've been presented with.
Definitely.
After years and years and years,
it works
probably
best.
Hundreds of games worth of experience at this point, I can say personally that I'd swap every alternative to return to paying a box price and a monthly subscription, because everything else that's been...
and that was why I'm so excited to get into Final Fantasy, because it seems like we are paying a box price with a subscription. There's a shop on the website, but I haven't felt pushed to use it at all. Now in BDO, you immediately are like, oh, I need more bag slots, and like, oh, but even though you bought bag slots, you need more weight. And like, oh, okay. And then it spirals and continues as you buy costumes and pets and so on. So
put behind a paywall ruins these games in so many more ways.
Spent way more in a game with a microtransaction shop than in a game with a subscription.
I don't love it. Crazy, I know, right? So what are we talking about? Well, you know the whole list of things, right? We've got the convenience gating, with aspects of a game designed to be inconvenient.
Drives me
so
crazy.
They can sell you the solution. This comes in a few forms, like limited inventory.
Yep, exactly what I was just saying.
Default amount of bag or bank space to the point where you're gonna fill up and run out fairly quickly. But wouldn't you know it, they're selling more space.
Like, why wouldn't you just have enough bag slots? You know, like
MMOs,
they should give you the bag slots.
Grinding to level to acquire.
It doesn't feel good to have to buy bag slots with money.
So what you'll see is some combination of...
Like, I can't think of an example of where I felt good with that, you know? I was enjoying a game and the problem was there and I solved it with money because the game was fun and I didn't want to give up on the game. But that didn't feel good, having to do that at all.
Of those grinds inflated, not for the sake of the experience, but so they feel just tedious enough that you want to speed up the process, and the cash shop just so happens
Lost
to
Ark
sell you
was
the means
rough
of
with
doing
this
that.
stuff
They'll
too.
sell experience, golden reputation boosters, harvesting multipliers, or better yet, maybe they just straight up let you purchase the resources, currencies, and levels in question. And then there are the time savers, sort of along those same lines. Games will sell various means of saving time beyond those related specifically to grinding.
See, and then if you can buy time in the game, like to accelerate the progress among players who are trying to play to do things, to accomplish things, it diminishes those accomplishments, in my opinion. Because why go try that hard when you can just spend the money and get it done and then compete, especially in like a PvP environment where you're trying to get gear to a point to fight other players.
Or eliminate the need to travel altogether with things like mobile banks and vendors, for example. Pets that pick up loot for you. Games that might have energy systems where you run out daily. Well, then
BDO was insane about that, with having 5 pets, and that determines how fast you can pick up loot, so that affects your grind speed.
Time savers, either items or buffs that reduced crafting times, research times, and remove travel cooldowns. And all of those there fall into the pay for convenience camp. But then there is the pay to win side of things.
Pay for convenience, pay to win.
Have a soft or hard cap on natural power progression via playing, usually in the form of gear, but then sell the means to bypass that. So if you play normally, there will be some sort of a restriction or grind that requires waiting days or weeks before you can get that next big gear upgrade, or you can pay to do it immediately. So we've got cash shops where you can outright purchase.
And BDO is very bad with this because you could buy costumes to liquidate to speed up enhancing, to get more attempts at your RNG upgrading for gear. And or you could grind for hours and hours and hours, 8 to 10 hours a day, more before you get a solid attempt in some cases. I don't know what the economy looks like now, and I know you can make more money now in the game, but you're grinding for many, many hours per attempt, and you can absolutely skip that with swiping your card and then do those same attempts for real money. And when you're gambling to upgrade gear, it's a slippery slope.
Items that make you more powerful, although that is quite rare. Usually it'll be one step removed. They won't actually sell you the end product, but instead they sell you a required item or resource to upgrade your gear to get to the thing that you want, with that item or resource being rather rare or time gated and difficult to get naturally via just playing. Or you've got games that will sell you in-game currency or let you get premium currency to buy in-game currency and then use that in the game's auction house to then trade with other players for those various upgrades that you happen to want that make you more powerful. And those are just
buying gold is tricky if there's trading in the game, because if there's trading in the game, people are going to sell gold illegally, right? So with that being a factor, I have mixed feelings, because like if you can buy it from the source for real money in a safe way, in an environment where people like everyone around you who can trade has access to that, and not everyone will cheat and buy it from an improper source, but it occurs. It's occurring. You know what I'm saying? So you can't deny that it's occurring, and it's a tough thing. Some games eliminate trading to fix that problem, but it's a complicated issue. Because I think trading's important for immersion and fun.
Pay for convenience and pay to win. That is all too common in this genre, both in the games that we already play, but also in pretty much all of the new upcoming stuff as well, which is really what spurred on me making this video.
Yeah, I want to know what's coming up that looks like it's going to be bad.
Somewhere between now and the next 5 or so years, the MMOs that are coming in that window, or possibly coming in that window, how are they looking on the pay to win and pay for convenience scale? I'll give you a little foreshadowing. Not that great.
Oh, man.
Or in other words, they're looking good if you like
don't
pay
say
for
that
convenience
to me.
and pay to win. So we've got the handful of Eastern MMOs that for sure guaranteed 100% are going to be pay to win.
Yeah,
Throne and Liberty is already confirmed to be pay to win.
Right.
It has already launched in Korea. We know what
Throne and Liberty was received really poorly, and I know they adjusted it, but I can't imagine the launch is going to go well. But
Blue Protocol is also now confirmed to be
people
pay to
are
win.
bored.
It's just going to happen. For
this
Arcade
game looks
2,
cool.
well, this might as well be confirmed because it is the sequel to Arcade after all. I would not expect it to be anything other than pay to win.
Yep.
And while Chrono Odyssey has yet to be confirmed pay to win one way or another, because we just don't know that much about this game,
does
my
look cool.
money's on yes, it most likely is going to. Beyond all of the Eastern MMOs, which are historically pay to win and seem to be living up to that reputation going forward in the upcoming releases that we have on
that's
the near
definitely
future. We also
disappointing.
have the sort of MMOs, the MMO lights, the shared world games, many of which are also pay for convenience or winning. So there's Soulframe, which of course comes from the Warframe devs, so it will be pay for convenience at the very least, because as we all know, Warframe has a lot
we
of
all
ways
know
to spend
Warframe.
money to skip grinding to save you a lot of time.
Right.
Project LLL will be no doubt pay to win. It is being developed by NCSoft after all, and while some of the games they publish aren't necessarily pay to win, pretty much all of the games they have developed have been. For Once Human, well, they have adamantly claimed zero pay to win, but as someone who has spent over 100 hours with the game at this point, I can tell you it has endless streams of currencies, reward tracks, and time-gated content and resources that I don't see how it's possible it won't be paid to win. There is like at least 10 different things that are very likely to be purchased in one way or another.
It looks a little sus on the pay to win with Once Human. I'm hopeful though that
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see once the game officially comes out. As for Dune Awakening,
let's try to be optimistic about that.
I do expect it'll probably follow a similar trajectory to Conan Exiles. While I'm not intimately familiar with that game, from what I've heard, it launched mostly free of this stuff, but
I played
then over
Conan.
Time slowly had convenience for sale items added.
Okay,
so it's quite possible that trajectory will happen for Dune Awakening as well. And for
I'm still interested to see how that
already
goes.
said in discussion about how they're going to monetize this game that they will be starting with a box price and a subscription fee, and they will be supplementing monetization by selling additional services and also including a WoW token equivalent. And And that is a bulk of what
I mean, I really enjoyed the time that we spent in PAX Day Alpha 2, and I'm hopeful for that game 100%. They did say subscription fee and box price. Let's hope the cash shop just doesn't get too crazy. They are going to be selling a WoW token though, right? So some sort of be able to, like RuneScape as well, have a token so you can use it as currency in the game, but also it's game time, right?
what we've got from the MMOs that are scheduled to release within these next, like, let's say 2 to 5 year windows. Pretty much all of them have either pay to win or pay for convenience. Now, my hopes of us getting good MMOs not full of intrusive microtransactions anytime soon were dashed pretty hard recently. In March, Riot announced that they were going to be going back to the drawing board and starting over with the development of the League of Legends MMO, saying that after a lot of reflection and discussion, they've decided to reset the project as their initial vision just wasn't
man, the reset. I didn't hear about that yet.
The market. Here
I've been waiting to hear more.
To offer just another MMO we've played before with a rune terracotta paint, but wanted to deliver something that feels like a significant evolution of the genre. So this decision to start over definitely couldn't have been a light one.
Let's see what they do. They need to go back to cook. Give them time to cook.
Set on 8 years of development, and with
My
this announcement,
God,
they said
8 years just resetting.
Project for several years. I definitely expect the Riot MMO to at least sell some semblance of convenience, or maybe even if they're just focused on the cosmetic side of things, pulling their inspiration possibly from League of Legends, right? That said, yeah, we're not going to be getting this game for at least 5 to 7 years would be my guess. And then prior to that, earlier in the year, we got the news that Blizzard's in-development survival MMO, codenamed Odyssey, was just outright canceled. This came after a significant round of layoffs, with Microsoft letting go of 1,900 employees.
Holy
like with the Riot
shit,
MMO, this
dude.
also happened fairly far along in the process. We know that Blizzard's Odyssey spent 7 years in development, beginning production in 2017. The game was said to be in a playable state as of 2022. Odyssey really did seem like it was going to be Blizzard's first post-WoW attempt at releasing another large-scale, massive multiplayer game. And
that would be interesting, but they just squashed it, huh?
Over the years, it was still certainly something I was interested in seeing.
I don't know. I'm not big on retail WoW as it is right now, so. And I'm not big on a lot of the decisions Blizzard has made recently, so.
Because they had both been in
I'm a classic private server boy.
Years, we thought that they might be coming in the next few years, and those were games that I thought could be on the lighter side of monetization. And before
I feel like that ship has
yes,
sailed.
Blizzard certainly monetizes a lot of aspects of their games, but they tend to be less intrusive into the game experience. At least that's what I would have expected from the survival game. I would assume that survival game might have followed along the lines of Diablo 4's monetization. Like, yes, they got the battle pass, yes, they got cosmetics, but not too much of the requirement for swiping surfaces itself in the course of playing the game. And that's really what
I really disliked the monetization in Diablo 4, because if I wanted to start to look cool, I was gonna have to buy a costume. And that's the same reason that I haven't been playing wow, it's slipping my mind. Last Epoch.
What I'm talking about when we talk about games, and we will look at games like ArcAge, like Black Desert Online, like Throne of Liberty. I know BDO has changed over the years, so it's been a while. Forgive me if I'm not current on how monetization currently feels. There's a lot of games where the monetization ends up like just smacking you in the face throughout the course of playing the game. And then there are games where the monetization
you can't get around it.
Kind of feels like it's there, but it's not bleeding into the game playing experience, if that makes any sense. And I think things like cosmetics definitely follow suit there.
Final Fantasy feels more like that right now to me, where I'm like, I can buy another emote or costume or whatever, if there are even costumes. I haven't looked, but very minimal cosmetic stuff.
I understand, like, technically speaking, because of the WoW token, meaning you can buy gold, and because with gold you can buy carries, that allows you to technically purchase gear as an individual while playing the game. That's never surfaced to me, really. Like, I can just play the game and experience the game and never feel the impulse to buy. Now, that doesn't mean that other people don't. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect other people. It doesn't even mean that it doesn't affect me, because yes, maybe other people getting gear faster than me has some sort of an impact on me. Really not personally for how I play, but I do understand the argument there for how people do consider World of Warcraft or any game that lets you buy gold pay to win. Like, certainly I get that. It's really when the game design is interfaced with that cash shop, and again, it smacks you in the face throughout the course of playing and experiencing the game. When that happens, that's when it's most egregious to me. Not the presence of any sort of potential microtransactions or a game having a cash shop. That merely being the case isn't egregious enough to just really upset me and ruin the game playing experience. Like with Lost Ark, when you have this gear upgrading system and you go down to like a 0.5% to succeed, otherwise you fail, and games where gear can break or you lose resources or you require weeks of grinding, but then they conveniently surface to you, hey, but here's this cash shop where you can skip all of that and just buy the thing that you want to make yourself more powerful. That is the worst implementation. That is the side of it that I really, really personally dislike.
And having played hundreds of hours of Lost Ark and thousands of hours of BDO, 10,000 plus hours of BDO, those are the most toxic real money transaction mechanics that they can implement. So in my opinion, games that do that, you should avoid. Unless you can afford it, then great, good for you.
And so the reason that I brought up the Riot Runeterra MMO, the League of Legends MMO, and the reason that I talked about Blizzard's survival game is because I expected both of those games to be on the lighter side of that equation. And there are other AAA MMOs that may very well be that way as well. We really don't expect to see them anytime soon. So I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings MMO that is coming out of Amazon.
A new
the
Lord of the
Sony
Rings MMO
working
from
on
Amazon.
Horizon
I don't know.
MMO. There's also a Warhammer MMO coming from Jackalope Games.
Wow.
There's the Ghost MMO from Fantastic Pixel Castle.
I want to learn more about the Warhammer
coming,
MMO,
and
guys.
ZeniMax Online Studios, the developers of ESO, they've got a new MMO in the works as well. I would assume that most of these will have some sort of pay for convenience. I think that's certainly likely, but I think they're far less likely to have aggressive in-your-face experience hindering pay to win. And so, yes, I am still tentatively looking forward to these games, but like I said, these are still way far out on the horizon. I don't think we're going to see any of those games that I just listed for at least 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Which one of these would be likely to
So that gives
come
us
out
time
the
to
soonest?
just chill in Final Fantasy, you guys, and really enjoy it.
Been in development for a long time, but all those other games that I just listed, they are years and years, maybe even more than a decade away from coming out. Point of which being the immediate horizon when it comes to new MMOs for us to play. It's not looking particularly good if you were hoping for ones that aren't aggressively pay to win or heavily laden with pay for convenience. In fact, the only MMOs that I can think of right now that appear 100% confirmed to have neither of these are Corepunk and Ashes of Creation. Just about every other MMO that we know of coming out in the next few years has one or the other.
Well, those two we'll keep a solid eye on. Ashes is definitely not close, though.
Speaking personally, but it's also pretty much unescapable. If you like the genre, you basically just have to put up with it and try to enjoy the games in spite of it, which brings me back to my earlier question of where is my line for pay to win.
Sure, I want to know.
I really realized over the years that it varies from game to game, but generally speaking, I will hit that line whenever a cash shop inserts itself into the play experience and gets in the way of progression. If it's surfaced to me while I'm playing and just trying to enjoy the game, that's when I really dislike it. A game merely having a cash shop, selling convenience, or even power doesn't necessarily make me not want to play, because that would mean not playing pretty much every MMO on the market.
Absolutely.
They're all having
Yeah,
some
you can't
variation
avoid
of that.
it
But yes,
most of the time. It's there.
Through the course of naturally playing that I would be better off swiping and accelerating my progress, that is normally when I'm going to check out. I'm happy to enjoy a game up until that point, but once I hit it, yeah, see you later, right? It'll never happen, but I do wish, I really do.
Now, I've enjoyed games that have had a cash shop. And I just, at the end of the day, once I got to where I am now, I feel like I wasted money, and when I'm like, oh, I just paid a monthly fee for my time with the game, that doesn't feel bad. But when I'm like, oh, I bought costumes I'll never use again, or I bought costumes that I liquidated into enhancing materials, they are gone forever. Like, I spent extra money getting extra pets to put them together, to get the pets to be higher level, to pick up loot faster. These are all things that cost real money that, if you leave the game, they're gone. It's all gone. So, like, I don't know. I'd rather pay a subscription for the time and have the content be stable than be encouraged to buy shit that you just don't need, that should be provided within the game from activities so that you want to play. Because if you have to play to get the cool costume, well, now you have a reason to play the game. If you just buy a cool costume, it's like, well, and you can't get any other cooler armor from doing anything. You know, that is something that I hold, you know, feel like holds significance to me. But everyone has different things that are important to them with their games. So
that we could just go back to the days of I will buy your game, I will pay a subscription, please get rid of everything else. It was so much simpler and so much more enjoyable because you could just, because the subscription, with the subscription was there, I was paying the $15 a month, but I didn't have to think about it when I was playing. When I have to think about the fact that there is additional monetization and I'm walking into these monetization walls, these paywalls,
they create a problem,
I need to
sell you the solution.
Swipe or grind
it's not
for
fun.
Excessive amounts
It
of
ruins the fun.
Over.
I'm sure it's a great business model, but it ruins the fun.
The whole game experience. And yes, it makes me want to check out. And 9 times out of 10, that is the point in which I do check out.
I couldn't agree more.
But that is it for today. Checking out of this video. Thank you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Take it easy.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't know what you guys think, but ultimately I couldn't agree more. You know, that's an issue that I strongly agree with his position on. I want to see less monetization in my games. You know what I mean? In that way. They could raise the subscription fee. If it's the best MMO to date, I would pay a higher sub fee. I don't know about you guys, but that would still be less than what I would have and have spent on BDO, for example.